Hey guys, welcome to my series on how to breed Neocardinia shrimp in a comprehensive yet easy to understand way. Before I start the video, I would like to say that I have kept the video short and crisp while covering all the important points so that you don't get bored. And this is the part 1 of the series, so consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so that you get updated when I drop the next part of my Neocardinia breeding series. So without wasting further time, let's get right into it. So there are 3 broad categories of shrimp, the first one being the Neocardinia, which includes the humble red cherry shrimp, the yellow platinum, and the blues, which are the beginner friendly shrimp. The second type include the Cardinia shrimp, which are little more challenging to keep than the Neos but offer amazing coloration and patterns, few of which are the crystal red and the crystal black shrimp and the mesmerizing blue balls. And the third type of shrimp is the Sulawesi shrimp, which is way harder to keep than the Neos and the Cardinias and requires a really high pH. Now that we know about the different types of shrimp, let's get into the water parameters of the Neocardinia shrimp. Neos, the short for Neocardinia, need a TDS of around 80 to 250 parts per million. TDS, which stands for total dissolved solids, is a measure of total amount of dissolved solids in your tank water. Neos love a pH of around 6.4 to 7.6. pH stands for the power of hydrogen. You can measure the TDS and pH of water by using a TDS and a pH pen, both of which are readily available on Amazon. Now comes the water temperature. Neos like a water temperature of 18 to 31 Celsius or 64 degrees Fahrenheit to 88 degrees Fahrenheit. And now we come to the most important water parameter, which is the GH. GH stands for general hardness and is a measure of the total hardness caused by calcium and magnesium ions. This might seem a little confusing for you non-science lovers, but I will explain this in a really easy to understand way in the end of the video. So yeah, stay tuned to the end of the video to understand why GH is so important and how it helps in the molting of a shrimp. KH on the other hand stands for carbonate hardness, and I will also explain this in the end of the video, so stay tuned. Wow, all that science got this all worked up, huh? So let's get into a fun topic now, the Neocardinia tank setup. For Neos, I recommend a tank size of minimum 10 gallons. Many people say that their Neos are happy in a 5 gallon, but believe me, once you follow my breeding guide, you will soon have thousands of baby shrimp in absolutely no time. If you have the space, you can also get a 20 long, but anything less than a 10 gallon would make it harder to maintain the water parameters due to the low water volume. Okay, now that you have your 10 gallon tank ready, you need to add some sand to it. You can use either inert sand, or if that's not available, you can also go for pool filter sand. Neocardinias don't really need all of those fancy active substrate like the AD Amazonia. Any inert sand really does the trick for them. So take your sand in a bucket and keep running it through tap water until the water in the bucket is literally crystal clear. That's when you know the sand is clean and absolutely safe to use in your shrimp tank. Now you need to add some live plants like mosses, bues, anubias, or even floaters. These live plants really help the shrimp babies as it provides a safe hiding place for them and also to the buried moms that are about to give birth. And if you're new to keeping mosses, don't worry, there is something for everyone. The Java moss. This moss is built like a tank and can withstand a wide range of parameters and is very beginner friendly. So in a way, it's the Neocardinia of the moss world. And it also does really good in warmer waters. But if you have cooler waters of around 20 degrees to 25 degrees, you can go for the flame moss, which is an absolute favorite of mine because of the way it grows. Another thing that I absolutely love to have in the shrimp tank is driftwood. Driftwood is so useful in the shrimp tank because of a variety of reasons. The first one being you can tie moss to it. So the Java moss looks really good on driftwood. But the other thing I love about driftwood is that it can grow algae and biofilm really well. Biofilm is something that is really crucial for shrimplets in their initial days as they do not move a lot, so that's the only source of food they rely on. So be sure to keep at least one piece of driftwood in your shrimp tank. Now the next topic we'll talk about is filtration. One double sponge filter is more than enough for a 10-gallon tank. You don't need expensive canisters for these guys. Also, the shrimps love to graze on the sponge filter, picking up small particles of food stuck on it. But if for some reason the sponge filter is not available to you, then you can always go for the hang-on back like the Aqua Clear, but always be sure to install a pre-filter sponge in the intake of this hang-on back so that you don't suck up any shrimplets by accident. Now that you have successfully set up your beautiful shrimp tank, it is now time to cycle your tank. Tank cycling is a process where a colony of nitrifying bacteria is established in your tank, and what this bacteria does is basically it converts ammonia into nitrite and nitrite into nitrate. You can pause the video to have a look at this table to further understand the process, and this is called the nitrogen cycle. To kickstart the nitrogen cycle, you can use commercially available products like the Chem Stability. I personally use this product and it works really well for me, so I can vouch for this. But if this is not available to you, you can also use the API Quick Start. So it takes around 1 month for your tank to cycle, where it actually shows the nitrates as 0. So the more you cycle the tank, the more easier it will be in the future for you to keep and actually breed shrimp. I have personally cycled my tank for 1 month and it has worked great. If you use inert substrate like I told you before in the video, it will be much easier to cycle the tank as the inert substrate doesn't leach ammonia like the active substrates. And now we have reached the final topic of today's video, remineralizing. Using a good remineralizer is very important as the RO water doesn't have the required minerals to help your shrimp molt. So as I had mentioned in the earlier part of the video about GH and KH, the GH of RO water is very low, and I don't support using tap water because it can have harmful chemicals. But if you don't have an RO unit, use Chem Prime and tap water to dechlorinate it. So using a remineralizer will raise your GH and a KH to a suitable level. This helps the shrimp molt successfully and grow in size. When a matured female molts, she releases her pheromones into the water to attract males. These males will then fertilize her eggs, so molting is very important for a shrimp to breed and thrive. So here are a few good remineralizing salts for your Neocardinia which will ensure that they breed successfully and molt perfectly. So remineralize your water before you add shrimps. So that's all for the part 1 of the series, guys. The part 2 is gonna drop really soon, so stay tuned for that. In that, we'll be discussing on how to drip acclimate your shrimp, how to feed your shrimp, and many more exciting topics. So stay tuned and ring the notification bell to stay updated on my latest uploads. Thanks for watching.